Alright, welcome to another episode of the fabulous, famous JACING Tech Tips. And this one is going to be a little different because I feel this has potentially more value for the community worldwide rather than just for only Russian-speaking friends. So sorry folks. I finally found a product that is not covered in the YouTube videos as far as I can tell, and I'm trying to fill the gap here by covering it. You should already know what the product is from the title, and you might think something like, what the hell have you done? Or why, just why? Hold on, there is a reason for my madness, and I will be explaining it a little bit later. But first, let's unbox the Pioneer Slim Portable BluRay DVD CD writer model BDR-XD08MB-S in Moonlight Black. So this actually is top of the line model of Pioneer external drives, like not only BluRay but overall in Japanese domestic market. This one currently not being sold anywhere else, and as you can see, the box is all in Japanese as well. I haven't opened it, so it's brand new, but we will get through some of the claims on the box first, and then we're going to see what's actually inside. It will be first for me as well. Yeah, and unfortunately, yes, as I said, this is a top of the line, and it only comes in Moonlight Black. There are other models in this 08 series. They come in a variety of colors. For example, I would really like to get white one, but this one is like, you can only get it in black. Looking for, yeah, first, this was not cheap. It's not a cheap drive. This is top of the line drive, and I paid 15,000 yen for it. What Pioneer thinks this is for? Most importantly, it's this badge, yeah? It's capable of playing Ultra HD Blu-rays. I don't know what Pioneer thinks, but other drives that are cheaper and lower in the product stack, for some reason, they don't have this designation. I'm struggling to explain why they are unable to play Ultra HD Blu-rays. Maybe there is no support for them in the firmware of the drive. I don't know. It's hard to figure this out because like Pioneer never really mentions why this happens. It obviously supports M-Disc, like burning and reading as well. Here we can make movies with this, archive our data and play the movies. Yeah, here we have the specs. Right away, this is one of the points why I selected this particular drive. This one supports USB 3.2 Gen 1, and it has USB Type-C plug. You think, how hard can it be to have USB Type-C on your drive? But some other drives, I will get to that later, but some other drives use, as silly as it sounds, micro B connector. That terrible, unusable connector. Honestly, any modern device should have USB Type-C now. Yeah, we can write up to quad layer Blu-rays with it. We can even write triple layer M-Discs. As you can see again, Blu-ray playback, this one supports. Some marketing materials here. This Pure Read 4 Plus is another, I don't know whether or not this is a gimmick. This Pure Read 4 Plus currently being supported only by this drive. All lower drives, even with 08 in the model, only support Pure Read 3. I'm not sure if there is any difference in like actual performance or functionality, but here you go. This one is better, faster, stronger. Yeah, we also have latest high-grade rubber coating. And again, we have our Ultra 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays, but only in Windows, yeah. Yeah, this is a very important thing. Let's get inside and see what we have. First we have USB Type-C male connector to USB 3.0 Type-A female. Then we have USB Type-A to USB Type-C angle connector. Yeah, that's it. Your standard foam, nothing spectacular. All right, okay, yeah. I see why they brag about high-grade rubber coating. Yeah, this feels like soft touch plastic. As you can see, it's not reflective and there is no glare. So this is your standard plastic and this is like high grade. Pretty discreet looking. Yeah, here on the back we have our Type-C, which we can plug however we want. This is a big deal actually. Yeah, there is also an input for power supply. As far as I can tell, you can supply enough power through Type-C connection, but if you are connecting this thing to a phone or tablet, which you can do, by the way, yeah, because it has a Google Play support. There is an application, yeah, we can look at that later, probably. To supply enough power to this drive, you need external power supply. Here, yeah, rubber feed, emergency eject, I think it's a lever, not a button. Okay, yeah, manufactured September 2021. Currently it's November 2021, so this means that like people are actually buying these things because its product was launched way earlier this year. I just thought they've made a bunch of them and just sold through inventory, but apparently no. This is just a button to open the drive, and because it's not powered we cannot get inside, but this way we can. Just look at this beauty. Isn't this awesome? Yeah, this is what happens when you pull the lever. Actually, this fancy lid is one of the Pioneer's top selling points and was one of the reasons why I bought this drive. Again, you might think, how hard can it be to make just what Pioneer calls clamshell, you can see why, drive, but nobody else does this. I don't know if it's proprietary technology or it's patented by Pioneer, but nobody else does it, which is honestly a shame, because if you're using the drive as an external drive, there is no reason to have a tray, to bother with the tray, because it instantly requires twice as much space, yeah? And this just requires only the space that drives already occupies, if it makes sense, which I found quite unique and useful. Nothing special, just your double lens system, because it's a BluRay drive. You need a BluRay laser to read and write. You can actually disassemble this thing, which I will not going to do, but it's a standard, your Phillips screw. Here we have the instruction manual, which is obviously in Japanese. As far as I can tell, it's Japanese only. There is no English whatsoever. Let's see if we can find at least standard English phrase here. It should be, yeah, somewhere here. Yeah, exactly. This is the only English you usually get in the Japanese manuals. Yeah, on the back here, you have your serial number, which is important. And this is to download this CyberLink software, which is conveniently bundled with your drive. Yeah, you can say that it's just a bunch of useless CyberLink crap, but it's not like that is free. You know what I mean? This still costs money if you buy it separately. Even though this is only PowerDVD 14, it says here that it supports your Ultra HD Blu-rays and BDXLs, whatever. So at least this is fairly well-known product that this is the functional thing. This is the something you can use, like power to go to burn your DVDs, probably, yeah, not so useful. Instant burn to use drive in the picket mode, I'm not sure. Maybe somebody finds this useful. Label print, never looked at it. Yeah, CyberLink Power Director. This is, I mean, if it's free, you can actually, yeah, make movies with this thing. I'm not sure what LE means, like obviously it's light edition, but I'm not sure what functionality is missing from this edition. This is for your photo management. Still, a good amount of software which comes for free, yeah, for free, I mean, in the box. Most importantly, our Power DVD. Now it's finally the time when I talk why I picked up this drive, yeah? Not a lot of reasons, and they're mostly non-technical. First, as I said, I just like the fact that this is a clamshell drive. This is just how these things, like external drives, should be made. Second thing, as I said, Type-C, a must for a modern device for any reasons like longevity, usability, user experience overall. At least we know that this probably will be usable after 10, 15 years, which I will get back to. Third, it's semi-technical. It's a Pioneer. As we know, Pioneer was one of the original inventors of at least some optical technology, and I just trust these guys because, as it turned out, not a lot of companies make external drives, at least which are sold in Japan. So you pretty much have your Pioneer, you have Buffalo, you have IO Data, and you have Logitech. Logitech, not Logicool, because apparently Logicool is used for other peripherals like mice and keyboards, but for some reason Logitech uses their own brand to sell drives. I don't understand this either. Yeah, sometimes you also can find Asus. All of them rebrand somebody else's drives. They don't manufacture them, as we know. Pioneer, even if they don't manufacture this by themselves, at least this is a optical technology related brand. So this is trustworthy. That's it, because all other things that you might think about, like speeds or whatever else, it's actually not related, or completely unrelated, in fact, to the reasons. All other drives have the same or close to these specs in terms of speeds. They all have minor differences in terms of, like I said, connectivity or not being clamshell, being tray drives. Again, I just bought this because it was top of the line model. This is a nice bridge to talk about why I even bought this thing. Not complicated technically, but it's complicated in a sense that I think we are at the stage when we all understand, probably, like, or at least people who think realistically understand, that optical technology is on its last legs at this point. I don't think, and I don't want to argue, this is my personal opinion, but I think based on the everyday observations that we don't longer use discs as we used to use them. We no longer have optical drives in our PCs. We no longer have DVD players in our homes, and we no longer shop for, we use Netflix, or at least you should use. Which means that this generation, it might not be the last one for this Pioneer drive, or for Pioneer in particular, but I think this is as good as optical storage technology is going to get. You probably will not need anything better than this for the rest of your life. This thing plays all the Blu-rays, DVDs, CDs, burns, plays, M-discs. So if you want to store and archive your data for eternity, here you go. It is like latest standard, so I think USB 3.2 Gen 1 is going to be around for some time, as I said. What I'm trying to say is this is the last drive I hope I will ever need. Why would I need this? Good question. Because I have my Evangelion Blu-rays to play. I have my collection. I don't need to play these discs right now. I mean, I have them. I have some other discs which I will probably need to play at some time in the future, eventually. When I decide to do so, I want a thing to play them on. This is where this thing will come into play. This can be connected to anything, like it's not an internal drive. You just pop in your whatever optical disc and play. Regardless of what it will be, it will just take it and play, or able to read it at least. Hopefully, I will not run into a situation where I will not be able to play my disc collection, which is tiny. I know. I understand that it might be stupid to buy such an expensive drive to play 5 Blu-rays. I just want to be able to. And I think this will be reliable enough to be able to play these discs in 10, 20, 30 years when I will need them. I'm not going to show how to use this thing. What I can show you is the Pioneer utility that this drive supports. Let's get into screenshots. Okay, so this is how the Pioneer BD drive utility looks like. I was actually afraid that it will be Japanese only, but to my surprise, English was available, and it even launched with English interface right from the start. I didn't have to configure anything, but I suspect this was only because my locale was set to English. More about that later. What we have here are all tabs. I have just put a collage of screenshots of them. So let's go through all of them, starting from left top. You have your easy setting tab. This is actually a very useful thing if you don't want to deal with all the technical settings and difficulties of setting up the drive. You just can click what you want, and I think these modes are pretty comprehensive of what you might want from a drive. Setting 1 tab was disabled on my drive. Looks like it just does not support these options. Not a lot of things were missing here, but I would like to be able to turn off LED, might be useful. However, we can configure some settings on setting 2 tab. Here we have advanced quiet drive feature. What it boils down to basically is how much noise your drive will produce based on the performance you want. So you can set it in quiet performance or persistent quiet mode, and based on that, it will determine how fast your drive will spin up. And if you just don't want it, you want to have a max performance all the time, you just can turn this thing off altogether. Next, you have a PureRead 4 Plus. Yeah, that glorified PureRead 4 Plus. You can turn this thing off because by default it's on, and you have 2 modes here, perfect and master mode. I'm struggling to understand why Pioneer has to put them even in this tab, because what PureRead implies is that you will have your CD read as precisely as possible, and this is a perfect mode here, because if the drive will be unable to read a sect from the disk, it will just report an error and stop reading your audio track, or like depending on your software. However, in master mode, I don't know why it's called that, but in master mode, drive will extrapolate what data should have been on the disk in the area that it's unable to read, and will send this data instead. Might be useful, like to have smooth playback experience on very scratched audio CDs. Actually, you have an option of saving the settings directly to the drive, so you don't have to launch this utility to reconfigure your drive later. Status tab does not have anything interesting in particular, because pure read real time is not supported by this drive again, and disk information is just very basic disk information, like what type of disk is it, how many tracks it has, and so on. Next, utility thing, actually quite useful tab here, especially the check the drive operation with USB power section. There is only one button, run, and what it does is it makes a drive spin up the disk at max speed while moving read head violently back and forth to consume maximum current from the host device, I presume. So this utility will be able to determine if your host device is able to supply enough power for the drive to be operational at all modes. Sounds simple, but it's actually a very good test for some laptops. Custom echo, it just determines spin down time. Nothing fancy, but again might be useful. Force eject disk button unfortunately is disabled with this one. And the last tab, CD check, just non-operational, could not be used with this drive. I tried different disks like literal CDs and so on, nothing. It's just always grayed out. But I suspect if you have a compatible drive, you will be able to check disk surface, which again is very useful, and I wish that this drive supported this feature. For the reference, this is how drive looks like while being just powered on, sitting idle. And this is how an activity LED looks like while reading audio CD through FooBar 2K. And I have the taste test thing for the last. So I will just put this Power DVD screenshot as a placeholder and explain to you about the bundled CyberLink software, specifically about the download and installation experience, because this is a thing in itself which is very traditional for Japanese software. So first, to download the software, you need to go to a CyberLink website and register there. You'd have to have an account. Thankfully, it's just a very simple registration with name and email address. Then you will need to enter the license key you have printed on your quick start guide. You will be presented with a link to an exe file. You think you downloaded an installer? Not quite. You've downloaded a downloader for an installer. It will download the entire installation suite from CyberLink as another exe, 2 gigabytes, and then you will launch an installation from there. But it will not be that simple because, and this is a quintessentially Japanese thing, installer is in Japanese, and not only in just Japanese, but it's non-Unicode Japanese installer, which means you will have to set up your system locale to Japan in order for being able to display these non-Unicode Japanese characters. Otherwise, at least I have no idea what I need to put on when it asked for a license key again during the installation. I was just not sure what to put in because it just displayed as question marks instead of the characters. So I was able to install this thing. Obviously, I installed only Power DVD, as this one, as you can see here. I mean, it works. It even showed up in English interface. So you see UI language is set to system default, which is English. But then there are funny things, as you can see here again, in the form of missing text strings. For example, run $P automatically at Windows startup. So we are clearly missing some string here. Otherwise, looks fine, works fine. Actually don't even installs any sort of bloatware like updaters services and stuff. But that's not all. The most idiotic thing here is that despite all the region settings, UI language settings, and so on, when I launch any Blu-ray or DVD and try to play it, it plays. But context menu in that player is in Japanese. I mean, I'm not able to change it anywhere in the options, and it's just always in Japanese regardless of what disc I put in. It works perfectly, and I'm able to do all the things I want to do, but this is just an epitome of Japanese installations and Japanese software. Maybe I will be able to change this setting somewhere in registry, but I just want to deal with it, honestly. I'm fine using it just like this, especially considering the fact that I don't have to use it often. Alright, so this was a very unusual and lengthy episode of JACING Tech Tips. Thank you for watching, and see you later, hopefully. Bye!